Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, and Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, ladies and gentlemen, as we're about to embark on the holiday season. Also, Happy Mariah's Past Worldwide Re-Release Day. Big day here on Let's Play Train Simulator. I'm Cyclone, and we're going to go ahead and do our Christmas series of scenarios. Now, you might be looking at my screen and saying, Cyclone, you dumb-dumb, you've already done all three of them. Like, come on, what's wrong here? You're right. I recorded part 1, then I recorded part 2, then I recorded part 3. I also had to play part 1 twice because the game directed me into an AI collision, which was not my fault as well. Green signal and everything, and I noticed that later on the goal was not leading me to the right place. I couldn't get to the path, and there was nothing I could do. And guess what? You kind of got screwed by the dispatcher. So, but the second run, I made a little change. I was able to get into the location I need to get, no problem, thanks to that change. I've now created a second version of the scenario, which I have permission to post, and you're going to be able to get that off the workshop, if not today, very, very soon, so keep an eye out for that. I'm going to be making a new version of the scenario, version 2, Christmas Day, part 1, version 2. So I think what happened is the 2016 scenario, there must have been some updates since 2016 when this came out, and I think it screwed with the dispatcher in part 1 of this scenario. So, needless to say, we're going to go ahead and let this, we're going to try to run this with a few changes. I've also made some changes to some timings for the AI service to try to make the service just a little more enjoyable. It may not be a perfect run, and I'm going to have to fine-tune some things. I'm going to add some more messaging, things like that, but this is more or less the scenario you're going to be seeing on or around the time you see this video. December 22nd, Mariah's Past Re-Release Day. I want this to be available for you so you can have, so you can also play a new version of this Christmas scenario on a re-release route that people have not been able to play this scenario on for 5 years. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to play part 1 of this scenario, then we're going to see part 2 and part 3. I'm probably not going to re-record those, but I'll explain the reasons why I changed this version as I play the scenario. Let's get to work, shall we? While we load, a quick note, some of the text messages you're going to see on the storyline are changed. So there's just some minor changes. I also made a comment about one train whose number was duplicated in the shot. I actually made a mistake. The train number should have been a different one on my train. We'll talk about that in part 2. Radio transmission.
BNSF Highline Sub-Dispatcher to train MSEKC with engine 7202 east. You have authority to proceed east to Shelby via signal indication and posted speed limits. Highline Dispatcher out.
MSEKC. There it is, exactly on the description. So we're going to go ahead and get ourselves going here. We're going to look at the tasks a little bit more later. The main thing I'm looking at right now is to make sure they all go via, except for this one, which I'll explain later on why that's there. Because that is something I added to my version of the scenario, and I think it's going to add a little bit better towards the flow and the playability of the scenario. It's actually going to shrink your time playing this by about 15 minutes, which is not necessarily a bad thing. So I'll talk about that later. Anyway, let's get in the train very quickly and just see what's happening at the station. Hello, everybody. Hello, fine people. Hello. Hello. Nobody back here? Oh, there's someone back. Oh, someone just teleported into existence. Fantastic. Oh, nice lady back there. Oh, hello. You're wearing a suit. Fantastic. Hello. Hi. Hi, you're wearing a t-shirt. Are you not cold? Hello. How's my speed? Doing good. Okay. Hello. Whitefish, Montana. That's what the station is. Isn't it? You saw the sign. It's an Amtrak station as well, by the way, I believe. So, looking for people, and, how'd you sneak past me? We're gonna have more people up here. And, seriously, do these guys really not know how to bundle up for winter? Like, do they just wear the same clothes regardless of the season? It'd be cool, kind of cool if they put on winter coats. She's gotta be absolutely freezing to death, you know? Oh, you're at least, wearing pants, but, okay, we're done here? We're done here. Alright. So, we're at 16 miles per hour. We're going to make sure we don't exceed 20 for now. That is the primary objective. I'll take a quick moment to look out... Oh, turn on the headlights. That might be a good idea. Actually, let's look at the train over here. We have a small little consist here. A couple BNSF cars. Some backhoes. Backhoe loaders or whatever you want to call them. Some tractors with... scoops on them, another BNSF car, and there is the actual engine for that consist. It is not a service. It is not something that's going to be coming on the line after us. It just stays there idle. We'll assume it leaves half an hour after us or something, because, you know. So we have a green shunt signal. There is another signal about a mile ahead. And cut off my throttle for right now. Let's take a quick look at the train we have. You see we're taking engine 7202. We also have engine 7219 with no driver as a backup. Wait, I said no driver. Yeah, there's no driver. There is no driver in it. So that is an actual model of the train, no driver. Here's the train that we are actually taking with us. All sorts of mixed concepts. You saw an auto rack car. There's some wood chip cars, some empty cars, cement hoppers are in here. Like, this is a mixed freight. Pretty much everything is in here. Almost everything on the route is in here. So, nice way to get all the different things available on the route. Light pole. Not part of our train, just there. And that's basically... We don't have any engines on the back of the train, by the way. There's a Burlington Northern BNSF, or BNSD42, I believe. That's a switcher. That's an SW1500 switcher. We've seen that in other scenarios already. I got confused. So it is a switcher. There are a number of consists in here, including more backhoes. And, yeah, all sorts of fun stuff here. And you're going to notice there's no engines on the back of the train if I get back here. So you notice that we just have some wood chips on the back of the train. That's the end of it. And that's what we're following down the track. And let's get back in the cabin. Now, it's going to be a while before I can get up to the 60, so I'm not going to worry about my speed limit quite yet. But let's take a quick look at the map and see what all the things are we're doing. Let's start with where we are. We started here, and we were back here at the exact location was it was on the main line, because obviously it came along the main line. So we're just going to say that we started at Whitefish Station, because we are obviously leaving that area right now. So we started, hello, that's service 1. So we started at Whitefish Station, and we're going to have a whistle board coming up. So you know what, just to be realistic, I'm going to go ahead and punch the whistle board, because that's what I should do. We're going to ignore the fact that this train is already in the crossing, because we have to announce our own presence as well. They don't know how to announce their presence. I can't control AI. They're done. We'll leave it at that. They don't know how to blow their horn. We're going to take our time on blowing the horn, though, because it is going to be a while before the crossing for us. Can you just imagine the annoyance of watching one train finish its crossing, and then the moment that last car goes away, another train starts crossing at 20 miles per hour? I would be infuriated. Anyway, let's get back to the map. I'm going to take the throttle off for a moment so I can just show you what's going on with the map. Let's take the bell off as well. We have a green signal. That's all I need to see here. So over to the map. We're following this train. We're going to be continuing via Whitefish Main 2, which is basically dead ahead. You can see my train popping in right up there, actually. So we're going to continue along the main part of the line. This is all part of Marias Pass. Down here is the Kalispell sub. We're going to go where they meet here at Columbia Falls, Main 1 East. We're going to take the Main 1 track. We're going to continue along past, what is this? Past Conkelly plant, past the Conkelly plant. We're going to pass that. We're going to continue to Coram, which is up here. So I'm just showing where it is. There it is. We're going to continue onwards to Coram East Main 1. And you'll see the reason why I added that one later. That's an addition. You're going to see why I added that. On the original stereo, this is a stop point. I'll explain in a moment. I'll just worry about the speed after. So after Coram East, we're going to make our way to Belton 2998 lead. This is part of what I'm talking about at Coram East. Again, you'll see in a minute. So we're going to head in via here. You can see the junction is set for us. We're going to continue to stop at Belton East. I'm going to keep to myself why, but I think you can already see it on the map. So we'll talk more about that later. So we're going to continue down the route to, you saw the task at Whitefish completed. We're going to get to Red Eagle Main 2. We're going to continue from there to Pinnacle, all the way down here. Again, the junction is set for Pinnacle, which is an important thing because it wasn't set before. We're going to continue down the track to Essex. We're going to make our way to finish the scenario at Java. And there is a single car on the track. The only reason that single car is on the track is basically to make sure we get a red signal. So let's go back to where we are. We're going to go ahead and carry on with our Christmas Day journey. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and increase the speed again. I feel at this point, by the time I get to 20, I'm going to be able to potentially go right up to 60 from there. Now, looking at where we are on the line, you're going to see that we are going to pass one of the industries on the line very soon, this little area right here. This is the Half Moon Lumber area. And we visited that in the Shelby, no, it wasn't Shelby, it was, I suddenly forget the name of the scenario we visited them in. Oh, I'm a Lumberjack. We visited them in the I'm a Lumberjack scenario. We picked up some logs from them and we took them to Whitefish. So we're going to be passing by there today. We're not stopping there today. Now, I mentioned that I made a few changes in the tasks. I'm going to explain why I made those changes as we carry along here. Because the storyline elements will be revealed, and I will talk about other things I've changed as we pass them. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and power the throttle up a bit more now. We should be able to go up to the 60 speed limit in a moment, but the only problem is that we know there's going to be a lower speed limit coming up at 45. We're not going to get to 60. We might get to 50, so we're probably just going to stop at 45. I'm going to cut my throttle back again for a second because I went a little too quickly. Just in time. Look at that. Just in time acceleration. Let's pump it up to 100% throttle and let's go. So while we're in a bit of an idle spot watching our train accelerating, I kind of want to, with each of these videos, ask you something about the holiday season, because this is the holidays, and for those of you who are watching as the video comes out, I want to engage with you guys in conversations. So, I already know what I asked you in the other two videos, obviously, so we're not going to talk about that again, but here's what I'm going to ask you about today. What is your favorite thing about the holidays? Like, is it opening gifts with friends? Is it just being able to spend time with your family? Is it being able to play games that you might not otherwise get to play because you never have time to play games? Is it going out sitting by the lake or whatever, if it's a nice warm day where you are? I don't know. What is your favorite thing about the holidays? And I'm not talking about traditions or anything like that. I'm not talking about what you would do on Christmas. I'm just talking about what your favorite individual thing is on the holidays. Obviously, opening gifts is one of the main things. I will not lie that I like getting stuff, but I never feel like I want people to really get me stuff. I will accept stuff. I can use stuff. There's always stuff that I can use. But when it comes to asking, like when it comes to writing a list, like my mother back in November was like, well, I need to know if there's anything you really want for Christmas. I'm like, Mom, if there's something I ever want, I usually just buy it for myself. So the best thing to get me is a gift card so I can buy something for myself if I need it. Well, I need to know what gift card you want. Well, basically the ones you got me in previous years. I use them. Like, I'm not fussy. I really am not fussy. I said, like, the main things I said, there's 2 gift cards I can think of off the top of my head. One is any grocery, actually 3. 1 is any grocery store, 2 is any kind of fast food thing, and 3 is Steam. Because there's always going to be something for a game for $5 I'm going to want to pick up.
And if I had like a $50 gift card for that, it would prevent me having to dig into my wallet for that $5 every time. So it would save me $5 every month. I mean, I'm gonna buy it anyway. You might as well help me with it, right? So like one way or the other, the money's gonna be spent.
Anyway, there's Half Moon Lumber off to the right. You can see this, it joins this track and it continues off. Or rather continues in there actually, it leaves this track. But yeah, that's it's just I never like trying to come up with a list of things, because then I start thinking I'm greedy. Like I could say something like, well, I could use a new car. No, you're not gonna get a new car. Missed the whistle board. By the way, you notice the mile boards here, the 1214. These same mile boards show up on the Kalispell sub as well, right down to the 1224, 1225, wherever that line ends. So the same route, the same numbers apply to that segment of the route as well. So if you're coming from Shelby to Kalispell, you're going to still be able to see the same mile numbers. It's just a different track you're going down. That's all it is. Yeah, that's what it is for me. If I get gift cards, I'll be very happy. And believe it or not, a couple years ago, I really wanted underwear because I was finding underwear that I had and that I was acquiring in previous years was not good. But I found a kind of underwear I finally liked after all this time, and I'm like, this is the only underwear that really fits me properly. And I got three sets of underwear that year. I was happy. I've got lots of underwear now that I can actually use whenever I go out and do stuff. I mean, I won't wear it all around the house because, you know, I don't really want to spoil it for when I need to go out. And it's less laundry I have to do. But when I go out, I do not mind using that underwear now. Now, no going commando. I don't mind using that underwear. What the heck was that? Oh, that's not the view I was expecting. I did not know you could do that. Cool. I did not know you could do that. That might be how I might not have known I could do that before. Now I'm just right on top of the train. That is something I did not know I could do. Okay, so pushing up and down. I need to slow down, by the way. I'm going to do that quickly. I'm going to be speeding because I was too busy figuring out my camera angles. There we go. I made it on time. 45 is our speed limit. I did not know I could push up and down and move into the train like that. I thought I could only scroll, and that was all I could do. But no, you can actually go up and down on top of the train. You can still scroll on top of that. That is fantastic. I like this. I like this. I did not know you could do that. I learned something today, guys. I forget what I was going to do with this time. I wanted to see what was going on at the back of the train. So I think it's back there. Somewhere in this area. Oh, these things. Yeah, train detection units of some sort. That's what they are. Train detection system installed in track. All track work next 30 miles must comply with procedure. Okay. Did the up and down do something here? Oh yeah, they do. Look at that. It's the same thing as zooming though. So the zooming and using the arrows is exactly the same in this case. But the up and down moves you all the way to the front and back, whereas zoom lets you control it. So yeah, I'm learning things today. I knew about the zoom. I didn't know you could push up and down to zoom in. So I might do that in the future as a shortcut. I like that. So I noticed the signals are different. We have a red over yellow on the other track. We have just a green over red, I mean to say. Green over red on the other track. I can't read colors. Green over red on the other track, just a straight green on mine. You'll notice that that other track went into a siding, so the red was for the siding. We don't have any other sidings to go into here, so we just got a straight green. I also missed a crossing already. Ooh,
leg caused the horn to not work for a second. That's enough. So I do have a 60 coming up. We're going to go ahead and start powering up again here. We are on an uphill, which is why I was having trouble gaining some speed. That's okay. No problem. There's another junction joining us. Notice we have the green. Notice that beyond us appears to be a green. And now that signal has turned red. There it is. So you saw the junction from the other direction suddenly turn from green to red. That was probably a combination of... Let's go back and look at it. That's not how you go back and look at it. Notice that it has two lights on it. Both are red right now. One of those lights was green. That green would have been for going into the siding. But now that I'm in the area, it can't really be green anymore. No, there's no crossing. I just felt like blowing the horn. So I'm going to cut my throttle back to 50, 25, 12. Forget it. Cut it off. Okay, it's going to tag me for speeding there even though I was slightly late. Oh no, I actually didn't. I lost speed. Oh, that was perfect. Perfect. Totally planned, ladies and gentlemen. I planned that. I think this is the Concolly plant that we're passing right now. Oh, 35 coming up. No, we're not going to bother speeding up. That 60 was a trap, I tell you. A trap! Of course, if you just had a couple light engines driving along and you were able to go up and down and speed fast, you would be able to get up to 60 and get down quickly to 35, but we are not that, so we aren't doing that. There's some more wood chip cars. So the other track is red. The siding leaving is red. Train detection system again. Boy, that was a very short period of time since the last one. We are green. I am speeding because I did not slow down in time. Whoopsie. Oopsie daisy. I was too busy looking at red signals. And the funny thing is, I said I need to slow down for that. I started slowing down, then I stopped slowing down. I didn't think about it again. So that's pretty embarrassing. I knew that was coming, I didn't finish. There's a 50 coming up too, so it's like, meh. So you might be asking why we had to slow down to 35 when there's a 50 coming up. Do you see this curve we're going around? Can you just imagine if we took this curve at 50 and the train just sailed off into the great abyss over here? I mean, do you really want to see a train sail off into that great abyss? And that's how I ruined my view. Oh, now that I know how to fix that. So that's what happens when you go up the mountain. I keep saying my view is ruined, and I do this in some 2021 videos as well. So I keep saying my view is ruined. I can't get back in unless I zoom. No, now I know. I can just put the arrows and Catch it up here. Now I know. There you go. I learned something today. Oh, I'm happy. But yeah, that curve by the Great Abyss, that was why the speed limit is reduced. Let's break that for a second. We're just going to use some very slight braking here while we still have the throttle on a minimal setting. That way we don't completely lose speed here. After that last couple slowdowns, I'm realizing this might be a good idea to use the brakes to slow down, not just kill the throttle when you're hitting the speed limit. And then you can reduce your throttle after the brakes are used once. Hey! I'm not sure if it's policy to blow your horn going into a tunnel, but I think it's always convenient because you never know if there's some wayward trespasser in the area, and you just need to warn them and get the heck out of the way. If you're in that tunnel, you're dead. You're mine. You're mine. You're gonna. Excuse me. Eat rail, as they say. Iron is good for you. Thank you. I'll be here every night. Look at all the logs. Like, seriously, they have to spill all those logs, or are they just decoration? Or some of those just decoration? I can't figure it out. So it's a 0.5 uphill gradient. If I were to increase my throttle, I would definitely be able to climb this a bit better. But you know what? I'm at my speed limit. I don't care. I honestly don't care. So there is a green over red. I think in the original scenario, this might be around the point. It's either this signal or the next one where the signal was a yellow over red. So the reason for that was because you were being directed to stop up ahead. Not at this... Well, actually, no, you know what? The signal would have been this one, but very soon from now. The signal very soon from now would have been a yellow over red. Probably around the west Coram, if not before that. And then you would be stopped at East Coram. You'd be sitting there for 20 minutes waiting for a train to go by that hadn't even started moving by the time you stopped. And this is the first major storyline element that I actually take that back. It's the second storyline element I looked at. The first one was the fact that I had a crash, an AI crash with me. But the second one after that was the fact that I noticed that this weight was just uncomfortable, and I realized from a videotaping perspective, it also is uncomfortable for me every time I have to run it. And if it's uncomfortable for me, then you probably don't want to have to deal with it either. So you think the trains would be timed a bit better. So I realized what was wrong. Both the Service 2 train and my train, or the player train I should say, not just my train, yours as well if you play it, both trains were set to go by the same station on the same track. A waypoint was actually set for the Service 2 train to go by the station. That is the, we go 50 now, I'll just let it speed up. So when we move up the track to where Belton is, because that's where the station is, back here, both trains go by West Glacier Station. So what happened was, because West Glacier Station is up there and we were stopped at Coram all the way down here, let's go back to Belton East for a moment. You're going to notice that Service 2 is just hanging out right there, hasn't even started moving yet. So basically, let's do center back on me. The whole idea was the train that I was driving, the player's drives, could not make its way up to that area. Even though it's triple track, there's a siding that has a train in it, so basically you take the other siding. You weren't able to go up into that siding. You had to go by specifically that station. And because of that, you basically sat there for 20 minutes waiting for this other train to come to you before you could take off again. this to me is an unnecessary extension of things, and I don't think BNSF would schedule trains that far apart. I think they do a better job figuring out how to manage the trains. So what I did is I took the train, I moved it into the siding at, as you see, the siding at Belton, which is now 9.5 miles away. That is now our stop. We're going to stop there. And that brings us a lot closer to the train that needs to go by. That train will be in operation and going by about a couple minutes after we get there. So that is the whole idea behind that train doing that. It means that the Coram East signal is clear for us right now. We don't have to stop at Coram East unexpectedly. And we're going to actually have a stop at Belton. And that is where I've actually added a storyline element you're going to get to see as we go along here. So we have whistle board coming up. So to me, I would say that is the major change I made in this scenario. The fact that I put that train, that I moved the player train up to Belton for the stop. The fact that I went up there is the major change I made. The fact that I was trying to avoid the AI collision, that's a one-off. It may not happen again if I played the same original scenario. It may not happen again. But the fact that it did told me that I had to make a change in that area as well, which is why I now have a task going to Pinnacle to make sure that you actually get off the track that the AI track is coming on. But just to be safe, in case the train does still come along that track, I decided to ensure that the junction at Pinnacle could not go back to Pinnacle 1. And I did that by making sure the train that you're supposed to meet, Service 3 coming through Essex, stops at West Essex. It's never going to go over that junction. Your junction should not change. You should always go into Pinnacle. So that should now be no problem. So I made a few changes and I added a couple scripts basically for storyline elements, and I've been approved by BDC 1964 to do that. So I am going to go ahead and hope that what you're seeing now is the final version of the scenario. There may be a little tweak here and there, but other than that, this is the final version of the scenario, and you are going to see this on the workshop today with the release of Mariah's Pass. It'll be up there, and you're going to be able to go play this scenario yourself and enjoy this drive yourself today. So, by all means, go get it, and go and grab BDC 1964's other scenarios as well. He does have some other content in the workshop as well. I don't have it up right now because I quit the game since I last brought it up. But he does have, I think, about 18 scenarios, including these 3. So you can pick up some other content of his as well. And I'm sure he would not mind having people try his content and posting what he thinks. So please, by all means, give him a try. I certainly am. So here's what would have been our stop at Coram East, Maine. Now, in the original scenario, there is no checkpoint here. You just drive through here, and you're expected to know to come to a stop at the red signal when the AI train comes through 20 minutes later. So there's no scheduled stop here normally. And there's no scheduled waypoint here normally. You just go through because you went through Coram West. You didn't have to really have a guide to Coram East because you can't get away from Coram East at that point. Whistleboard. It's beyond the Coram East closure, by the way. So you'd be stopping right here, but we're not going to do that today. Radio transmission.
BNSF Hotline Sub-Dispatcher Train NSEKC. Be advised the train MSHSE will pass you at Belton. You are going to be first to arrive, so I'm routing you into the siding at Belton number 2298. Stop at Belton number 2298 regardless of signal and radio for further instructions. Hotline Dispatcher, out.
Okay, that script was a little long. I'll probably reduce that script, but that's basically the general idea. The general idea is you're going to stop at Belton. I think I called it Belton earlier. Is it Belton? Belton, yeah. So with that storyline addition, now the stop at Belton is explained, and we now know that that's going to be happening. We now know for certain what the storyline is. We have to get off the track. We have to get out of the way for this train. So don't dilly-dally. Get out of the way because you don't want to chance this AI driver not following a signal. You don't want to take that chance. Now, I could keep part of the train out just to test it, but I'm going to do this as a clean run. That's the whistle board. I hear any noises that sound like the Independence Day laser from the spaceship. And that was my impersonation of the Independence Day space laser from the spaceship. Tail through the TMT. Let's stick our head out the window for a second, see the much nicer view. Oh, we see the front of the cab. Oh, we still see the front of the cab. Okay, back in. Now, if you use a switcher, if you look on the right side from the switcher, you actually see a nice clear view. You don't see the cab at all, which is good because you don't really have a clear view from the cab or from the left side. But in the switcher, you can have a nice clear view out the back if you're going backwards. So if you're going to be traveling down the main line with any cars, typically you want to drive in reverse because you're going to have a nice, clean, unobstructed view when you do that. And then once you get to the yard, just do your regular switching. I should be speeding up. Why am I not speeding up? Oh, I'm on an uphill and I was only going 75 throttle. That's why. Let's try to get some more speed here, shall we? Well, it's not going to be for long anyway. It's going to be all for naught, so there's not that much time lost. We're going to be looking at pulling into Belton in about 3 miles, and that yellow signal is warning us that we're going to be pulling off the track. Now, because it is a through siding, and because we're going to be going at over 20 miles per hour, I think it's 15 for the red over flashing red, we're going to get as typical red over green, which means we're going to be pulling into the through siding. We're going to continue to the end of that siding. That's what we're doing today. So as you can see, though I did change the timings a little bit, you can see that I gave a little bit of leeway for the timings so that if you're slow getting to the siding, you're still going to have a chance of seeing the train do its regular drive-by. It's not going to pull up and wait for you. If you see the train waiting for you, chances are you did something wrong. You're just going too slowly or something like that. So there is a little bit of leeway. And you should have no problem getting to the siding on time. And assuming you are on time and you beat the other train there, the other train will go through. You'll be free to go, I think, at about 9:50, if I remember my last run correctly. I think about 9:50, 9:51 you'll be on your way, and then you're off towards Essex. Another train protection system. Okay, track protection system. Now, what I can tell you from the siding, because I wanted to do a test run to make sure what the siding speed was so I could figure out the timing properly. The siding speed is 25 miles per hour, so expect to be going 25 miles per hour when you pull into that siding, not a full kilometer more. So 25.9, you're good. 26, die! Excuse me. So you can see the speed limit change coming up. There is your 25. We're not going to hit it yet. We're almost at our speed limit of 50. I want to go 50, darn it. Get me to 50. Then I'll slow down. Said the fool. We're actually very close to 50. I'm not going to quite make it, but we're very close to it. Maybe I will make it. Let's get to 50 and then I'll slow down. Unless I get hung up. This is, oh, so never mind, it's a 0.4 downhill gradient. That's close enough. Let's just go ahead and slow down. Since this is 0.4 gradient, this is not a good idea. Let's lower that brake a little bit. I had to wait for the leg to get that full crossing bell out. A little bit further, please. Nope, a little more, guys. There we go, we're good. So we're going to pull into Belton 2998 lead as directed. That will take us off the main track. So we no longer go by West Glacier Station. We're not expected to go by West Glacier Station. And indeed, if we were a passenger train and we had to go by West Glacier Station, and that train decided to come along at that exact moment, I, as a passenger train, would expect that train to go into the siding. No way is he going by a station when I have a pickup to do at that station. Not unless they build another track to go by that station, which they're not going to do, so. So this siding has a little bit of a length to it, which is good. You can see the task ahead for the lead. You might be thinking, is that train already coming? No, that is not a train that is already coming. I'm going to zoom in and show you. That is a train in the other siding. So we have a green. We're going to stay on the main track. The red is for the siding. So that is the secondary track, just like you see on the other main signals. So nothing different with that. We are maintaining speed okay, given that we're on a 0.6 downhill gradient. I'm actually fairly surprised by this. I expected, ooh, a little bounce. I expected we would actually have a speed increase in here. We would have to be riding the brakes, but we're actually getting away with staying at 24. I am pleasantly surprised by this because I've had 0.5 gradients do more to speed me up than this is. So, I think part of the reason might be because we're coming to the bottom of the gradient. That might be related to it, and there's not as much that's on the 0.6. Maybe that's related to it. Because we actually are losing speed. There is another wood chip car. There's some tractor carriers that are empty. There is a bridge below us. We're in the main city area around Glacier Park right now. Is that what it was called? I forget what the station was called now. Oh, West Glacier. We're in the area. We're in the city area around West Glacier. You can see all the roads down here right now. So there you go. And there's the station. Hey, hello. You wear t-shirts here too, right? You gotta be cold, girl. You gotta be cold. There you go. West Glacier, Montana. Belton. Gas station, $3.15 and 9/10. Fantastic. Oh, by the way, that signal back there would have been yellow. I didn't mention that. The stop point is right in front of the signal. And that signal is a red. The signal that I'm talking about, by the way, would have been one of those dwarf signals. So back there is a dwarf signal. That signal was yellow. I'm not going to go back and find it because I want to concentrate on the stop. And let's take a quick peek at our service head. I'm actually worried I might have come in a little too fast now. That's our stop. I might have come in just a little too fast. But the train is on the way, so we are going to be okay with this. It's going to be a little while. It should be going faster than we are, hopefully. So just so I don't have to come to an emergency stop here, I'm going to go ahead and put a little bit of brakes on right now. We're going to be here for a while anyway, so who cares? So we are now 0.3 of a mile away from the signal. Coming upon a little slower. How's our train doing on the other side? Yeah, he's still a ways away. He's coming around that corner right now. He is making good speed. But I think we are definitely going to be stopped before he gets there. Normally, if you know the next signal is red, you go slowly expecting a red signal. So this is completely fine. This is completely normal. I should be going slowly. And that way, if the train that we're waiting for, whatever obstruction is ahead, disappears, by the time we come upon the signal, we could very well have a green signal. So, that's why you go slowly. That way you don't have to spend so much time getting up to speed, but there is no way we're going to be able to get by without stopping at the signal. So we are going to be stopping. And we're now 0.07 of a mile from the signal, so I'm going to increase my slowdown. We're coming upon a little quicker than we should be at this point, so I'm going to increase it even more. Taking the brakes off for just a moment. I'm going to try to coast the rest of the way into the orange block that we're stopping at. And as I hit 0, I'm going to hit the brakes. Actually, this should be good enough. I'm going to hit 0 while I brake. No, I'm not. It's good enough. Close enough. So we're at our red signal, and we're going to go ahead and wait here. That's all we can do. As you can see, not that. There's the red. And we are, of course, in train 7202, as I said already. Radio transmission.
BNSF highlights of dispatcher train MSEKC. Once the line is clear, you have the line all the way through Essex. You'll be routed via Pinnacle Main 2. Highline dispatcher out.
And yes, that's another storyline element I added because the stop wasn't here before. Yes, I did add it, in case you're asking. So we're going to be going by Red Eagle as well, but that doesn't matter. What matters is that we're going to be routed via Essex, or Pinnacle 2. That's the main detail that we need to be aware of. And once we go through Essex, we're going to make our way to Java, and that's it. So we just have to wait for this train to come along now. We have a little bit of a wait. It's not too far away, so I'm going to actually stay with you. But let's take a look at the train as it comes in, shall we? So we just get to sit here now and wait for the rest of the train to go by. I'm assuming it's going to be about 9:50 when the train finishes clearing. You can see some cars are still up ahead. If we zoom ahead here, you can actually get a good look at the cars still coming around the corner. So that's going to give you an idea when we can get going, when we can set the train to go again. Let's put the train into neutral for now, shall we? Just so we don't accidentally... Can you go down, please? So we don't accidentally power on when we don't want to. I will leave the brake applied though, because the train can still get a little bit of gradient, and I think we're in the middle of gradient, so we're not going to go very far anyway. But you don't want to take the brakes off if you're not in the train. It can run away on you.
especially if you're on a heavy mountain pass, which we're not quite there yet. So there's the engine at the back. You can see it coming by right now. So let's pop out for a second, just look at the engine as it comes by. That's not what I want to do. This is what I want to do. I'm going to have to change that engine number. That's 7219. That's the one you can't have 7219 on here twice. I'm going to have to change the engine number on that scenario. Boy, that really causes a continuity problem, doesn't it? Because we're driving that engine on parts 2 and 3, so I'm going to have to definitely change that. Oh, yeah, that's one of the little cosmetic things I was going to check, but I did not expect to run into it on that train. Let's put the, now that I am not doing things properly, let's put the reverser up. Now we'll go. There we go. Yeah, so yeah, that 7219 is going to have to be changed on the reverse there. I'll make sure to make a point to make sure no engine number is repeated across these scenarios if I can help it. I can't guarantee that because there's a limitation on how many trains we have to work with in terms of numbers, but I think there's enough ES44 ACs that I can guarantee those will be unique. I think I can guarantee that. Actually, I thought the bell was going to stay on when I did that. It didn't. So you saw that little word sign there? East Belton. There you go. So you might be asking me, why are we bothering pulling out of a slow siding when we could have come down this fast track going 50 the entire way? Or 40, because I think it turns to 40 when you go by the station. The answer to that question is you're going to save a lot more time stopping here and not having to wait 20 minutes for waiting for that train at the other location. I mean, imagine we could still be back at Coram right now. And if we were back at Coram right now, if we were back at Coram right now, we would be literally waiting right about here, right here, and that train would still be all the way up here. Basically, we would still be waiting for him. And he is all the way up here. So that tells you why we're doing it the way we're doing it, right? We're on the move again instead of being stopped. So definitely a much better scenario for us. Now, I will admit I did change the timing on that train just a little bit to allow us to get in the station. So I actually did add a few minutes to it. It wouldn't actually be as long in the original scenario, but we would still be there till at least 9:50, probably almost 10 o'clock. So it's still a long, long wait. We wouldn't get through the station we just left until about 10 o'clock at the earliest. Now, I don't know if it's policy to ring the bell through these tunnels or not, but I think I might have said this earlier. I'm repeating myself. Because I think we ran through a tunnel already. I like to just warn people in case there's any wayward trespassers. So I'm powering up the throttle probably more than I should right now. Put it back down to 50%. Notice I intentionally took my time getting up to speed because I knew I was going to be limited to 25, so I'd rather not have to control my speed. That's why I just took my time there. So the 25 should upgrade shortly. I'm going to try not to speed into the 40, however. It is going to be a 40. Uh-oh. Oh, there it is. We're good. I did that perfectly and I didn't trust myself. I do that a lot. Perfect with a lack of trust.
Mile marker 1194, I think that was. Let's actually verify that, because I'm curious now. Yep, 1194. You can see it right there. Now, I thought the mile markers were goals. I actually wanted to put a mile marker goal, and I also want to make it a waypoint so you didn't actually have to see it as a check mark. But apparently waypoints don't let you use them as text prompts, storyline prompts for some reason. You can't just set a waypoint for a storyline prompt. I'm curious why that limitation exists, because if we didn't leave a hint that something was going to happen, it'd be a little more of a surprise to the player and a little more of a warning, hey, you better do something here. But I have to figure out how to use the mileposts as checkpoints, because I noticed on a Sherman Hill scenario there were some mileposts used. I'm guessing what happened is in the editor you'd be able to activate, like you'd be able to create a specific location there. You'd actually be able to create a spot there, and you could just then use that spot as your storyline checkpoint. I didn't feel like doing that in this scenario. We were close enough, about 5 miles away, that I'm like, you know what, we'll just do it here, because it gives the driver a fair warning to expect a signal, and it worked out, because the signal was very shortly after that warning. So, no need to create a separate spot around a milepost here. We're just going to go ahead and do it as is. And here's another tunnel. This is a long tunnel, so get used to that bell. You have to admire the beauty of this route. I'm not going to try and do a fancy screenshot here, but I want to just show you the beauty of this route. You see the train going by, a nice huge mountain of trees, and a beautiful-ish river here. Like, you have to admire the beauty in this area. Let's actually turn this off for a second. I'll risk speeding. You have to admire the beauty of this area as you drive through it. It really is nice. For a 2013 route, it really was a high bar, and it's probably one of the reasons why this route was so popular for those that were unable to get BNSF. It was one that people really wanted to get their hands on, myself included. So, yeah, this is a really, really nice scenic route for 2013. Of course, you can probably do a lot better today with all sorts of other assets available from other routes, and you can make a freeware route that looks even prettier, I'm sure, using Mariah's Pass assets, but yeah, for 2013, for a packaged route, this was pretty darn good. This was pretty darn good. Stevens Pass came out later in the year, 7 months later, and it's considered a high-level route as well. So these were two very, very popular routes, and it really was a shame that we had some less quality routes coming out on the UK side, the ones that we were allowed to pick up. Even the other US ones were somewhat boring. Sherman Hill's kind of boring by comparison with this route. The scenery in Wyoming is just not as good as the scenery in Montana, I'll tell you that much. Scenery in Montana much better than Wyoming. So it was a no-brainer to bring these routes back, and I'm glad that BNSF is back. Notice we weren't doing this for the tunnel this time, we were doing it for the whistle board. So here's a crossing right here. We have a diversion signal. You might be asking, what siding are we being pulled into this time? No siding. We're just making our way onto Red Eagle Main 2 East, which is 5 and some miles away from us, 5 2/3 miles away. And the track number 2 is often seen as a diversion track. So because we're taking track number 2, we're going to be diverted onto that track. I believe it's a 35 for that junction, but we're going to find out when we get up there.
typically when you take these junctions, you have to drop 5 miles for the junction, then you go right back to your speed limit. It's kind of like, why not just stay at that on the junction? Did you really have to make it that unsafe? They had to drop 5 miles? So I'm going to just do a quick brake application here, drop that back down to a straight 40. We are going to be uphill in a moment, so I don't want to lose too much speed. That'll give us enough control right there that we can go ahead. We may have to do one more of those brake applications. Mile marker 1190. I just realized sitting here playing this right now that I don't think I made the final remark in the scenario a radio transmission. I want to do that, so I'm going to be giving you the final remark as a radio transmission if I didn't do that. But that's irrelevant right now. You'll see that in about 45 minutes or so when we finish. Might even be less than that. Oh, I didn't even see the whistle board. Whoops. Oopsie. Oh, we're in a 45. We should speed up. Let's look into doing that right now, shall we? Actually, you know what? We shouldn't do that. We're going to be diverting off anyway at a 40. In fact, here it is right now. So let's go ahead and just not do that. Let's just keep it at 40 because I don't see a speed indication. And oh, we could go 45 here. Okay. I was getting ready to divert at 35, and I was thinking I was going to see a 35 sign. Never mind. We can speed up. So that diversion was not a 35. Good to know. I'll forget that by the next time we come through here. You know I will. Oh. You have a bell. There you go. I know I mentioned in a video at some no, I did not mention because I realized I'm going to scrub that introduction now. So I don't think I mentioned yet that obviously we're going into the holiday season. This has been a really hard year for everyone, but it's especially harder for everyone who has lost a family member this year, especially to COVID-19, which really should have been dealt with by now. I'm not going to get into the politics of that because it will incur fights I don't want to start. But it's in the U.S. I think we're over 800,000 people dead. I don't know what the numbers are for Canada, but they're definitely not 800,000. I mean, if we had 800,000 dead in Canada, we'd be talking about a significant portion of the population. So it better not be that high, because we only have 30 million compared to, or 38 million compared to the U.S. 330 million or something like that. So yeah, in the U.S. 800,000 people dead. Canada has many thousands as well dead, and the Omicron variant is now plaguing us as we go into the new year. That's the new winter variant. So we're just kind of hoping at this point that the as some of us have to get boosters. In fact, all of us now are going to be eligible for boosters in Canada, 18 and up, all going to be eligible for boosters as of yesterday or 2 days ago. But I'm posting this thing on a Wednesday, so as of 2 days ago, we're all going to be eligible for boosters. As I'm recording this, I'm going to be calling my drugstore to see what the status is of boosters there. I may or may not have my booster at the time this actually is published. I don't know. So I can't comment on that yet. I can't see the future that well. But I'm going to try to get myself boosted, because I would have been eligible in January. I'm close enough now. They've changed it to, I think, to 3 months. So as long as you've had your second shot for 3 months, you can get yourself boosted. And right now, I'm just hoping. Like, I think we have 90% of the Canadian population that has at least one shot. There are a few idiots here too. I'll say that, and a few others who are just don't understand and don't know, or don't have time, or are unable to get it for their own reasons. And that's fine. If you have like surgery or something, you're not going to be able to get the vaccine until you're recovered from the surgery and you're done your therapy and all that. So I understand. So that's fine. But there are a few idiots here as well who just aren't going to get it for whatever reason, just like a whole bunch in the U.S. So, and I say the term idiots loosely. I do believe that the vaccine does protect you. I do feel like I've had symptoms of the disease at some point. I do know in February of 2020, before the pandemic was even declared, before we knew that the disease was all over, I had a very, very bad sickness, and it was just a sudden headache. It just would not go away with medication. It persisted through the medication no matter what I took, no matter what I tried. Migraine, headache, didn't matter. I tried being in dark rooms. I tried taking showers to put water on my head and try to help that. And nothing would help this headache. And I felt other symptoms as well. I strongly, strongly believe that was the moment that I had COVID-19. I strongly believe it. Because I didn't have the whole garbage in the throat, but I did not feel good. And I did not know at the time that I would have had COVID-19. I was still going to school, so I had no knowledge. But the good news is I don't think I infected too many people with it. There might have been a couple people who might have been hit by it, but we typically sat far enough apart in the classroom that we were not around each other so much, even without masks. And and maybe it was not COVID-19, but it's the only thing I can imagine. I don't know what I had that was so bad at that time. But anyway, back to 2021. Obviously, a lot of people died that year, and a lot of people died this year due to COVID-19. And personally, I also lost a relative, though as far as we know, it was not to COVID-19. It was actually a slip and fall accident that caused him to end up in a position where he couldn't breathe. And my mother attempting to help him, because she's the only other person who lived with him. I have outside town, so was my sister, so we weren't there. He had a slip and fall accident in the bathroom. She was trying to help him, but he was still having trouble breathing. She was trying everything she could to get him on his side, but he had a condition that made him have extra stuff in his stomach, making him eat really heavy. So she was having a hard time getting him up and breathing. Oh, I didn't realize I was speeding. I did not see the 35. I always do it at that 35. Even if I'm paying attention, I always miss that 35. Every time. But in any case, she did eventually call for help. And it was actually kind of interesting because my father was saying, call this person, call the neighbor for help, get him over here. So he was still trying to stay alive. He didn't want to go yet. He talked about dying. He was comfortable with the idea of dying, but he didn't want to go yet. He was calling saying, get help over here. But at the same time, it could have just been a case of he knew he was going to be gone, get help over here to get him dealt with so that he would not be a nuisance to her after he passed. It could have been that as well. I'm trying to read that. I don't understand exactly how he meant that, and there's no way we're ever going to be able to ask him that, because now he's in an urn in our living room, and he's going to be basically watching us from there this Christmas. Not there in physical, hopefully there in spirit.
And that's going to be the hardest thing this coming holiday because it'll be our first Christmas without him. I know that my sister had a hard time and broke down at one point when the whole idea of doing Thanksgiving, I think, without him, which we had at her place. She ended up having a panic attack that night or whatever it was that she had that night. And she wasn't in a good mood herself. And I understand why. It's hard to go through the first set of holidays without that relative. But as time goes on, you do start to heal. And I am sure over time we will all heal from the fact that we did lose my father over this year. And I'm sure I still have some grieving to do. I'm probably going to be sad over this Christmas because he's not there with us. Like I normally would expect to see him. He was there for my birthday. 2 days after my sister's wedding, he died 12 days later. And that was just, to use a British term, it was just, we were just gutted. Like, my mother called and said, I need you to come here immediately. I'm not going to, I'll tell you what's going on when you get here. And somehow in my mind, I already knew what was going on. And I even said, I think I already know, just tell me. She would not tell me until I got there. And I was panicking the entire way just in case it was something where he was still alive. And I had to rush to get there. So I wish she had just told me over the phone and I could spend some time grieving myself and then come out there when I was comfortable. But instead I was going out into panic thinking there's something I could do to save my dad. And he was already gone. And it's not the first time I've lost a relative. I've lost all my grandparents by now. All of my grandparents are dead. And I'm saying that matter of factly, and yeah, I did grieve them all. But this is the first time I lost someone who I spent a majority of my time with in my life. I spent my first years of life with him. He's the one who was there giving me piggyback rides as a kid. Obviously, I learned to walk there, things like that. So just not having him there this year is going to be the hardest part of the holidays. It really is. But at least we had our whole childhood with him, and he didn't have to bury me. That's the good news. He got to live his full life, and he got to enjoy it with his family, and without his family in some cases. They finally got the house to themselves a couple years ago when my sister and I both finally were able to move out. She got married. I'm still single and by myself, but I ended up moving back to town to go to school, and my parents kind of liked having the house to themselves. Now there's discussion of me potentially moving back in with her, which I kind of don't want to do if she's going to stay living where she lives out of town, because I hate living out of town. We'll talk about it later, but it's going to be... 2022 is going to be a very interesting year. I do not know what's going to develop in 2022. I honestly don't. And knowing that she is going to be by herself and not with any companion, she's got a lot of life left. She's not going to go for a while. So it's going to be a long time before she has to go to a nursing home or something herself. So it's going to be quite a challenging year for me, trying to adjust to the fact that now there's going to be all these other things happening in her life that I have to now adjust to. And I could be in some way involved in these, possibly have to move back in with her just because it might be better for her to have someone there with her. And same with me, because I may not be the most healthy person myself. Maybe better for me to have someone around as well. I don't really want to live with my mother again, but I might not have a choice. It might be the best option for both of us. And that's something we're going to have to explore. But I'm kind of hoping before that happens that this whole COVID thing finally goes away. That way I can go back to having life as normal. I can go out and do things so I don't have to spend all my days around her every day. So I'm just hoping things get back to normal soon. Then we can figure out what to do. As long as this COVID thing is going on, I don't want to be around anyone, not even my mother. Not unless we have a reason to get together. I just don't want to be around people as long as COVID is still a problem, even if we're boosted. And trust me, finding a job where you work from home, it can be very, very challenging. I'm trying to find employment right now as well. It would be nice to find something I can do from the comfort of my computer room, of my study. Do the work on the computer and then play some training sim in the evening or some other game and do some streaming in some cases. Be nice to be able to do all that in one day and have a nice full day
and then go out and get some exercise and know that I'm financially stable. That's really what I want to do right now. I'm kind of unstable financially right now. Unstable. Another nice scenic shot. Look at this. So anyway, I hope you have not had to deal with the loss of anyone due to COVID this year, and you can just sit here and enjoy these nice scenic shots with me. There you go. Not the best shot, but you know what? We'll take it. It's a river, it's a mountain, it's a train. We're good. That is mile marker 1181. So we've gone about 25, 30 miles since the start of this scenario now. We are currently 7 miles from Pinnacle. And as you can see, I'm not having any problems with the switch being set against me today. We are good to go. And apparently going to arrive about 10:25. I'm not sure how accurate that is. What I can tell you is that when I was in the editor looking at the times, the scenario, the calculator thinks I'm going to arrive at 11:09. Oh boy, is it wrong. Even for the original scenario, that's wrong. It's close, but it's still wrong. And the times would have been longer on the original scenario for obvious reasons. So I believe when we were going through this section, at the point where this goes back to a single track before reaching Pinnacle, and then it's double track the rest of the way. At the point before we reach Pinnacle, I noticed that I crossed, and this is something I'll put in my video of my little crash video if I post that, and it'll be in the description if I decide to post that. There's no guarantee I'm going to post that. But if I do post that crash video, you're going to see that when I cross that point, and there was an objective there that I hijacked and used for another purpose, because you didn't need that one. We didn't need this objective. I might be wrong. Maybe there wasn't an objective, but I thought there was. In any case, when I crossed the... You'll see a green signal at the end, obviously, before we merge on the track. You have to have a signal, red or green, on both tracks. So we'll pass that signal, and the reason I believe there was a task here is because all of a sudden, I noticed my clock go from something like 10:40 to 11 something. It was almost an hour later. And I'm like, that doesn't make sense. That's not right. Like, what is with that time? I even commented on, I think it said 11:27. I even commented, apparently I'm not going to arrive till 11:27 now. And then a moment later it said 10:57 as if the track had switched back. I'm like, well, this is bizarre. Why did I suddenly save half an hour on my ETA? This is screwed up. But, yeah, the track was just doing things to play with me, and it didn't want to let me through onto the correct junctions. So somehow the scenario decided it wanted to... it basically wanted me to crash with the AI and replay it. You know, you gotta spend more time playing the train simulator. I mean, if this is the first scenario you're playing, you gotta make sure you can't refund it. Something like that. Of course, if that was my first scenario and that was the first thing I had, I would be refunding it. But then I say that jokingly because the first route I actually played was Sherman Hill. And it's not the first one you see aired because I had to basically go through all the scenarios and basically figure out how to play them all because they're not designed properly at all for some of the timings. Only one of them is actually doable with no edits, I find. So at least consistently doable unless you go slowly, which case you deserve to be not making it. But when I played that first scenario, Introduction to Sherman Hill, and I watched a bunch of cars just rip off the back of the train, I'm like, what did I do wrong? Like, what am I doing? It happened the second time, and it happened like it was a repeatable thing. I went into the chat and I'm like, what am I doing wrong? Like, what did I do? And they're like, you didn't do anything wrong. It's just broken. Oh, good to know. So that's what led to me eventually playing the scenario 10 times under different configurations. Boy, am I a trooper. 30 hours playing one scenario. Yeah! Or 15 hours, sorry, playing one scenario. I'm a trooper. I will get things right. And get a good video of it. And after all those attempts, I decided to play the scenario with modified car settings. I talk about it. I was actually talking about it in the original cut of the video that I was going to post, and that was going to be my final video when I edited it down. But I decided, you know what, I can do better than this, and that's when I decided I'm going to go ahead and put some different cars in. So okay, it'd be a question of which cars to put in, and then I put those cars in. I used regular train settings, didn't change the couplers at all, and the scenario was cleared with no problems. Like, you even notice I had a perfect stop right at that red signal at the end of the scenario. Actually, it wasn't a red signal, but we treated it like a red signal. It was a green signal. But you notice I had to stop right at that signal, and it was like, you know what? No problem. No problem. So I was very pleased. I kind of solved the problem, and unfortunately that broken scenario is going to be in there. So if you ever play Introduction to Sherman Hill for whatever reason, please download my version from the workshop. It will work. I probably could have edited the original one, but I wouldn't have been able to post it to the workshop. So the edit would not have gone into the workshop. I could have probably... Actually, no, I couldn't even put it in the zip file because the zip file is automatically created from the game, so I wouldn't be able to put it in the zip file. I would have to post a separate zip file and say replace the existing scenario with this, and it should work. But, yeah. So that signal right there is the green signal I was talking about. That signal was still green. I crossed over here. I saw the green speed sign. And all of a sudden, the junction told me I was going to arrive at 11:27. Yeah. You see my arrival time right now is 10:26. Now, even with the old scenario setup, it would have still been like 10:46. So, still way off. Still way off. But we're going to arrive at Pinnacle in 4 miles now. So, I'm going to estimate about... I'm going to just go with what the HUD says. 7 minutes. I'm going to estimate 7 minutes. There you go. Actually, give me more like 8 minutes because I'm going at 30 miles per hour. So I'm not adjusting for the fact that I'm losing speed. I'm at a lower speed. I'm trying to get it back. Trying to regain time. Hey, another tunnel. It's a very small one, but I'm still going to sound the warning because there could be someone goofing around on the other side of the tunnel not aware a train's coming. How they don't hear it, I have no idea. Oh, I guess it's a long enough tunnel. I think they still hear it around the audio on the other side of the mountain. I'm actually happy with the fact that this is not a career scenario because this is such a long drive. I would not want to do a 2-hour drive like this. Almost 2 hours, more like an hour and 3/4. But still longer than Sherman Hill, that's for sure. I would not want to do this really long drive trying to manage speed limits and everything else that you have to do with these kind of scenarios. Because over an hour and 45 minutes, and that's the best case scenario. You might be able to do it a little bit faster, but I think it's an hour and 40 minutes actually is the best case scenario. But if you assume over an hour and 45 minutes, most scenarios are not going to be more than 90 minutes nowadays. So this is longer than most scenarios nowadays. And naturally, what you're going to expect to see is in those longer scenarios, people lapse for a moment. They suddenly have a speeding penalty. And you know what? They suddenly their perfect score that they've been working for 90 minutes is now gone. And for some, it's not. I didn't mean to turn the wiper on. It's not a big thing for many players because there's a lot of players who are like, well, what's career mode is garbage. The points don't mean anything. They're absolutely right. I don't even care if I get full points most of the time. Most of the time, if I'm going for a full score, it's just to show you that it can be done. That you can get a full score, and this is how you get a full score and be on time. So for scenarios like that, I do want to... by the way, the reason I'm lowering my speed, by the way, is my throttle, is because I know I'm going to have a 35 junction coming up. So I'm lowering my throttle to keep it around 35. Just so you can see what's going on. So that will eventually start dropping until we get to the downhill. So yeah, Donner Pass is a really bad example, or really good example of how not to do a scenario, because it's listed as a career scenario. Perfect green signal. That does not make sense. Why do we have a perfect green signal? Hold on a second. Oh no, the junction is set. I'm just panicking. There's a yellow for the signal there. Is there another? There must be another signal for me up here. There must be. Oh no, there's not another signal. Okay. I had a green over red for some reason. I'm a little puzzled by that. I actually think that signal should have been a yellow over red. That should have been a yellow over red signal. Because as you can see, when we go up to Pinnacle, the junction is set correctly. So let's go up to here. It is correctly set. I'm going to go onto the correct track. But I don't understand why the signal was not a different signal. I should have been warned about the change coming up. Oh well. But yeah, what I was saying about Donner Pass, that scenario, just the very first scenario, the passenger special, this is the train that is capable of climbing that mountain at the speed limit. This train is capable of going the speed limit on that mountain if you push it correctly. And they expect you to run that route in 167 minutes. Now you might be saying, oh, that's plenty of time. That's a 5-hour route to drive. They want you to do a portion of the route in 167 minutes that they do not have correctly timed. Now, maybe when the scenario was first created, maybe it was correct. Maybe the physics of the trains allowed you to move across the map faster, and it didn't seem to take as long. But now the physics go a little slower, and over a 3-hour drive, the difference adds up. You cannot arrive at Truckee until about 185 minutes into the scenario. So, that's bad enough that you have those checkpoints along the way. 5 different checkpoints. You get penalized at every single checkpoint until you're like minus 17,000 points. I mean, it can be a competition to see who has the highest score at the end. And you know the score is going to be a massive negative score, but you have to do it to get the achievement. You have no choice. So that's a case of how not to do a scenario. Do not do a career scenario where you're going to penalize them for being, for not keeping to an extremely tight timetable. That's not fun. That is not fun. You can say it's a tight timetable, and you can make them feel like they're under a little bit of pressure to do well, but still give them a minute or two, a couple minutes leeway. It's still tight, but not impossible, in other words. So 35 is our junction speed limit. We should be peeling off on the junction right now. You can see Pinnacle Main 2 is listed, so we know we're taking the junction without question. We are going to be on the correct track. I'm still puzzled why the signal was not correct. That signal was wrong. I know that signal was wrong, because you can see straight ahead now, it's a yellow over green. We had a green over red, or sorry, I'm reading that wrong. It's a red over green. We had a green over red into a red over green. I did not see another signal. So I am puzzled. I am puzzled by that wrong signal. So be aware you might get a wrong signal. Be ready to go 35 miles per hour on that Pinnacle junction. Just like I was. Because 5 miles, who cares? 5 miles is nothing. So service number 3 coming towards the end of the scenario should be going into action shortly. I did try to plan service 3 moving for shortly after you get into the Pinnacle area. So service 3 will be moving at about, I think 10:27 and 30 seconds is what I set it for. So it'll be moving in about a minute. We're going to go ahead and check in on that about in about 30-40 seconds. We're going to check in on that train. Now, I might still be slightly on the junction back here, but that's going to be okay. I should not have a one-off situation happen
because there's no reason for the train to continue to the portal behind us that it was originally scheduled to go to. I think it was Paulo or something like that. There's no reason for it to go there. So basically where I am right now, I'm going to show you the train first of all. It is up here. It's about to start moving right now. So notice the time. And it's going to start moving right about now, I believe. Unless I messed up the time. Well, this is entertaining. Let's go back to the train. It might be a minute later. I might be off by a minute. Okay, it hasn't moved yet. I told it to move at this time as far as I know, so we're going to see what it decides. Or it might be 10:28. It might be moving at 10:28. So, now... it is somewhere around this time I told it to start moving. We will see it move. I wanted to watch it move live with you, but unfortunately I'm not going to get that privilege, it looks like. Unless I forgot what time I gave it, that's possible. Oh, I should be getting more speed on here. Let's try to put more throttle on here. As we check in on the train, and now it's moving. So it was, okay, I was a minute off. I said 10:27. It actually moved at 10:28 and 30 seconds. So now it is on the move. That means we are going to be meeting that train inside the Essex area here. So you can see where we are at the top. You can't see where we are at the top. You can see us all the way up here, Christmas Day. So you can see us up there. We're still far away from Essex, Maine, but we're about as far away as that train is. So we're going to be meeting inside Essex, Maine somewhere. Where I am right now, I'm crossing the Essex... Actually, no, I've already crossed, I believe. No, that's Pinnacle. So I'm coming up to the Essex West right now, which is somewhere up in this direction over here. So when we get to this point, this is where the train is going to stop. There's no reason for it to go beyond this point and cause potential problems for the player, because, needless to say, it's going to cause problems for the player if it's able to continue beyond and ignore a red signal. So I basically just stopped it here because by the time you finish the scenario, it should not be able to reach a signal anyway by the time you get to the end. So basically what I've decided to do is make Essex the final stop for that train. So it's like a Shelby to Essex scenario, or a Shelby to Essex train, and that's the final stop for that train. That's basically what I decided to do with that. So that's the last major change I made to the scenario. I made sure that train would not cause problems in every way I possibly could. And I think I saw a whistle board there. So obviously the other half of that is I wanted to make sure the trains passed each other inside the Essex area, and that was the goal. We're going to see how well I did at that. And I'm actually curious to see that myself. So let's see how I did. By the way, I was talking to my father earlier. I want to talk about the condition he had. It's a very rare condition. The odds of you getting this condition are extremely low. The fact that he had it makes me worry that I'm going to get it someday now. But basically, it was some kind of jelly in the stomach, a hard jelly. And I remember him a few months back during the summers when he first told me that he had jelly in his belly. I'm like the first natural thing I said is, okay, so are you going to make some toast and spread the jelly on there? Obviously, he expected that joke. If you knew my father, he expected that joke. But he was not able to get the condition resolved before he passed. He waited too long to actually get it dealt with. And the fact that he might have known he had it, but he just didn't want people making a fuss over him, so he never really wanted to worry about it. But then it got to the point he just couldn't function anymore. And we tried to get him the help he needed, but it was too late by then. Even if he did not have the slip and fall incident, we figured he would have died anyway. It would have been surprising if he made it to Christmas.
BNSF Highline Sub Dispatcher to, I have to fix that number, 7202 East. I'm going to hold you at the west end of West Java Siding 1. I've got another westbound coming your way. She'll be there shortly after 11. Once he's clear, proceed up the pass. Highline Dispatcher, out.
So when you read this with the correct number and the fact that it's a radio transmission, which I'm going to edit into that, the first thing you would think is, oh, we're going to be continuing this scenario. I thought we were stopping at Java. Nah, in the storyline elements, we're not going to tell you it's the end of part 1. You don't want to just say it's the end of part 1. That kind of takes away the whole storyline. So we're going to just go ahead and keep the messages going and act like there's nothing wrong, and then you just get the end of the scenario. When we give you the end of the scenario, you will finish when we say you finish. Pardon me. I am better now. Oh, is that my train? Service 3, here it comes. And what are the engines on this guy? 7391 7214. There's a train I can't use on the other one. Perfect. Let's get a nice view of these guys passing each other. Look at that. That was what I was going for. I was going for the yard thing right there. I need to slow down. Slow down. Slow down. He's already going 30. I'm not. Slow down. I'm not going to get down in time, am I? Nope, I'm going to get down in time. I'm down in time. We're good. What is that? Oh, that's just some kind of crossing. Okay, cool. Cool. So the workers don't have to be on the tracks. Or anyone walking by. I mean, we are in a bit of a... I guess we can go from road to road. There's no road on the other side, but... Oh, did I see another train engine on the back, or was it just cars? Nah, just cars, all auto racks. Okay, we're good. Oh, and we have a station. Get a coat! As you can see, this is Essex, Montana, and again, it is an Amtrak. You can see the Amtrak sign there. So if you get the Empire Builder, if you grab that Amtrak Empire Builder, you're driving these passenger scenario to these stations. That's what you're doing. And I really am tempted. If I decide to get into trying to create my own little scenario from scratch, I actually am tempted to take that US version of the Voyager and bring it in for a special Mariah's Pass treat. Why am I speeding? I did not lower my throttle. That was fantastic. I went to all that trouble to get under 30, and now I'm going over 30. So yeah, I really am considering bringing the bringing the Voyager Advanced to the US. I really am considering doing that. And taking the US livery that Just Train's made up and running it along Mariah's Pass. I have every reason to do that now because it's back to worldwide use. And I'm surprised no one did that when Mariah's Pass first came out and everyone had access to it before. I'm surprised if no one did that before. But I think it would be a nice little treat. I would not be able to post this in the workshop. It would be a nice little thing that, Just Trains can brag about, saying, hey, someone did this with our train. And that's something they can then brag about. Not that they would. But I would hope that Tom would be willing to play it on stream if I did that. That's all I can hope for. We don't need to show just UK routes. As long as you're showing off your train, that's all I care about. Do an American route once in a while. I probably won't post it on Alan Thompson's sim where he usually gets his scenarios because this is going to be an American route if I do that, but for obvious reasons, I can't post it on the workshop, so I'll have to find some way to get it to him. So we have, in terms of our signal, still a solid green, which I think there's a problem with the signaling here today because the next signal is 1.5 miles from now, and that is our stop at Java West Main 2. So that is 2 signals here that have been flawed. Those both should have been yellow signals. I'm not sure why they were not yellow. Why they were not yellow? They should have been, because the next signal is going to be a red. Unless something got screwed up with that little car on the track up ahead. I don't know what happened. Did I accidentally delete that somehow? I don't think I deleted it. I don't remember going to it and clicking delete. I would have had to go all the way across the route to do that. Out like exercising as it is. Why would I run all the way across the route? Yeah, there's our stop. That's a red signal, or should be.
So yeah, keep an eye on your HUD in all cases, because it's good to have a map and know the route of where you're going. So if signal does not appear correctly, you can just stop and think, wait a second, something is wrong with that. My route is taking me off the main line, but I'm not being signaled. I'm going to just treat it as if it's a yellow, and we're going to wait and see what's happening. And I've now seen 2 cases where it's a good thing that happened, because it happened at Pinnacle and it's happening here. So something broke in the middle of this scenario, and those yellows did not work. Normally those would be yellows, and in previous runs I did see yellows at both of those signals. So your signals may be yellow, but if you see a green, just treat them as if they're yellow. The storyline already told the player that they're stopping at Java West Main 2, so the player needs to expect to stop at Java West Main 2. And therefore it does not matter if the signal is green or red, you are stopping. Which means I need to slow down because we're half a mile from the signal. So I'm going to cut my throttle for a minute. I probably should have done that without hitting the brakes, actually, because we have a natural uphill. Or natural slowdown is what I mean to say. Okay, let's go ahead and start slowing down for the stop now. I'm going to knock off a few more miles. That'll work for now. Looking ahead, you can see it definitely is a red. So we were not guided correctly on the signal. We're going to plop the engine right on top of that orange mark, so I'm going to drop another mile off just to give me a little more control when I get up there. We're at 0.00 now, so we definitely want to stop in this area now. We're just going to coast in nicely. And we're going to stop right here. That's good enough. 0.01 is a good stop point. So there we go. Let's look at the train. So straight ahead, about 1 o'clock view from where I'm looking right now. We're going to have a train coming around that mountain in a little while. We're going to sit here and wait for it. In the meantime, look at the beautiful scenery. How can you be bored driving along this route? Good driving so far. Take a break and enjoy the scenery. I'm going to fix that to a dispatcher. That's going to be turned into a dispatcher note as well. So, got to fix a train number in one of them and got to turn this into a radio transmission. Other than that, we're done this scenario. And I hope you liked the video. Please do give it a thumbs up if you liked it. I did make some changes to this to make it a more enjoyable scenario. And I think the maker is going to like it as well. I'm going to have him test it before I post it. In the meantime, you can also subscribe to the channel to see more like this, especially the next 2 parts. You can donate on Patreon if you want to support me financially in any way. You don't have to, but it's appreciated. You can join the Discord server, and you can also have a wonderful day, evening, night, or holiday, whatever it is for your part of the world.
And I will see you next time for part 2 tomorrow. Bye-bye.